So today I'm going to discuss about this concept called elastic file system. Elastic file system. EFS. What is this elastic file system? So when I was discussing about the concept of storage, okay, when I was discussing about the concept of storage, I told there are three types of storage available. I mean, 3 to 4 types of storage is available. One is object storage. What is the example of object storage?
S3.
And what is the example of blocks? Yeah. So what is the example of block storage? EBS, right? So we have one more called instance store, so that you just ignore. Instance store is not that much required. And we have one more called a file storage. Okay, one more called file storage. So what is an example of file storage is EFS, elastic file system. Okay, elastic file system. So what exactly is elastic file system? Okay, why we have this elastic file system? Okay, so first thing is, you know what is about S3 and you know what is about EBS. So I don't want to discuss more about it. Okay, but why this EFS? Why this EFS is, so EFS we call it as elastic file system, and we are going to call it as a shared file system. Okay, shared file system. Okay, see, I have an EBS volume. If I want to attach EBS volume to multiple EC2 instances, is it possible? I mean, at a time, I want to attach this EBS volume to multiple EC2 instances. Let me go back. So this is EBS volume, and these are EC2 instance. EC2 instance, and this is EBS volume. Can I attach this EBS volume to multiple EC2 instances at a time? That means this EBS volume can be utilized to multiple EC2 instances at a time. So parallelly, all these EC2 instances has to use this EBS volume. Is it possible? It is not possible. Okay, so that's why we have a concept called EFS. Okay, we have a concept called EFS. So using this EFS, I mean this EFS, okay, we can utilize this EFS or consider this EFS as shared file system or a shared folder. Okay, so in interview, if they're asking, you need to tell that. So EFS is nothing but a shared file system or a shared folder which can be utilized by multiple EC2 instances at a time. Okay, multiple EC2 instances at a time. Okay, so that means, see, this shared file system has some data. Okay, so it has some whatever it may be. Okay, whatever it may be, it has some data. So that data can be utilized by all these EC2 instances. Or if these EC2 instances can, if this is like the first EC2 instance, second EC2 instance, or third EC2 instance, if all these EC2 instances want to write some data, okay, that can able to write to that write to this file system. Okay, so that can able to write into this file system or a shared folder. Okay, and there is a problem with EBS volume. What is that problem? The first problem is the EBS volume cannot be attached to multiple EC2 instances, but EFS, elastic file system, we can attach to multiple EC2 instances, as elastic file system is nothing but a shared file system or a shared folder. Okay, and see, EBS also we can able to okay, you can able to increase the volume. Like let's say if it is 10 for the very first time we took 10 GB, okay, and we can again we need to increase it to 50. Let's say there is a requirement of 5 more GB. Then what we done was we increased this 5 more GB and we've been mounted, we are extended the file system again, right? So let's say I require 100 GB. Again, I need to increase it to 90, 85. And again, I need to mount it. Mount in the sense, I need to again extend it. Okay. For the very first time, I mount it out. And again, after that, I have extended it. So that means I have done a lot of things to make the memory increase. And if I want to decrease, let's say I don't have this requirement of 100 GB now. If I want to decrease it out, I couldn't able to make it out, right? So the disadvantage is, okay, we can't able to attach that EBS volume to multiple EC2 instance. But the advantage of EFS is we can attach this EFS to multiple EC2 instances as a shared file system. Okay, that means as a shared folder. So consider this EFS as a shared file system or a shared folder that we can attach to multiple EC2 instances. Okay, and the second problem with EBS volume is, so EBS volume we have to increase and we have to increase, and we couldn't able to decrease it out. That means manually we need to increase, but we can't able to decrease it out. Okay, but shared file system, that means EFS, EFS you don't need to increase, you don't need to decrease. Okay, that means manually you don't need to increase, manually you don't need to decrease, based upon the number of files keeping in that particular, okay, based upon number of files keeping in that EFS, the shared file system. Let's say this EC2 instance is writing 100 files, this EC2 instance is writing 100 files, and this EC2 instance is writing 100 files. Okay, so based upon the memory or data you are keeping in this file system, right, it automatically increase. That we call it as elastic file system. Wherever you see elastic means that will increase and that will decrease. Even EBS also has elastic. That means that we are manually increasing. Okay, that because it is also having capability of increasing. It will increase, but it couldn't able to decrease. But EFS file system, it is going to increase and it is going to decrease based upon the number of files you are going to keep as part of that particular folder. To this particular shared folder that we call it as EFS. Okay, so do you see that one more advantage when compared to EBS? And so this EBS volumes we are going to tie to only one availability zone. Okay, and coming to one more difference between EBS and the EFS. Okay, so EBS volume we are going to tie it to only single availability zone. Okay, so let's say if in case of any failure, right? So if we are going to take any backup, if you want to see any, if you are going to see any issue, so 100% you are going to show a problem with EBS. That doesn't mean that we are not going to use EBS. 100% in real time we are going to use EBS. That is number one use case. Okay, but because we are going to tie it to only one EC2 instance, whatever the data, if you want to write it from one instance, that we can able to write entirely to EBS volume. That is very good. And even EFS is a multiple, this EFS is going to use by multiple EC2 instance. There is many problems as multiple EC2 instance is going to use it out. What is that? I will tell you. Okay, and in between coming to the class, like while entering into the class. Okay, see, but one more problem with EBS is going to tie with single availability zone. That means when you are trying to deploy, when you are trying to create an EBS volume, we are going to use only one availability zone. In case of data failure, in that availability zone, that means if the availability zone comes down or goes down, okay, if the availability zone is not available at that time, okay, then we couldn't able to retry the data, but that will never happen. Okay, but as an example, if there is a problem like that, okay, so but EFS, okay, we can able to we can able to deploy in multiple availability zones. Okay, if it is not available here, from somewhere also we can able to access it out. Okay, so that's the thing. So there are number of limitations with EBS volume that has been successfully overcome by with this EFS, elastic file system. So it follows the concept, the general concept in IT world called network file system. Okay, so elastic file system, okay, is following a general networking concept called network file system. Okay, so earlier it is network file system. Now with AWS, what it done was it took the help of, or it take a copy. Like EFS is nothing but a copycat of NFS. Just think like that. But here we can able to increase and decrease based upon the number of files has been uploading and deleting from that particular file system. Okay. See, any questions for EFS now? You understand the concept? So why we are going to use this elastic file system? You should have an use case, right? See, so one, let's say, let me just go back to here. So let's say you have deployed many applications as part of these EC2 instances at all. Okay. See, second. So this one EC2 instance, three EC2 instance, second instance, third EC2 instance. Okay. So there are many applications you have deployed as part of these EC2 instances. Okay. And all these applications is going to use a one drive or one place. Okay. Or let's say this all is going to have going to utilize only one content. Okay. So all these EC2 instances or application is going to use only one content. Okay. So in this EC2 instance or application is going to show that content only, and this EC2 instance or application is going to show that content only, and this EC2 instance or application is going to show, application where we are going to, in this EC2 instance only we are going to deploy the applications, right? So in this server only we are going to deploy the applications, right? So this application or this EC2 instance is going to show the same content. Okay. So when there is a concept of utilizing a same content, okay, when there is a concept of utilizing the same content, okay, it is going to use this EFS only in real time. Okay. So the things what like the use cases, I will mention it as a web surfing, okay, content management and data sharing across different, okay, data sharing across different applications. Okay. So the same data has to share by different applications. The only example in real time tell them that if data has to share by multiple applications, okay, if the same data has to share by multiple applications, or a same data or a group of data has to share by multiple applications, then EFS will be useful. Okay. And tell that as content management, you want to manage the content. Okay. So this EC2 instance will write, this EC2 instance, this EC2 instance, right? Okay. So you need to manage all this content. How we are going to make it out? Using EFS, we can able to make it out. Okay. Any questions? Any questions you want to ask me? Venki left the chat. Sorry. Oh, joined. Okay. So let me go back and show that real time. Okay. So for that, usually see here on the board, you're required 2 to 3 EC2 instances. Okay. For example, let me take only 2 EC2 instances. Okay. For now. I want to take only 2 EC2 instances. 3 again, I need to show that everything to you don't require. Now this elastic file system is going to utilize by only 2 EC2 instances. Okay. That means first I will create a 2 EC2 instance. Okay. Later on, let's see. Okay. Let me go back and create 2 EC2 instance. Launch EC2 instance. EC2 server 1. Let me go back. Did we take Go back. And I'm launching an EC2 instance. Okay. Let me go back and create one more EC2 instance. I'm not taking the default IP, I'm taking another IP. Okay. Let me launch this EC2 instance also. Let me go back. So first thing is, what I need to do is, let me go back. EFS. Okay. Steps to create EFS. First step is create EC2 instance. So that will be there in real time. Okay. So for different purpose also, you are going to create EFS instance. Create EC2 instance will be there, but you are just going to attach that. Okay. But anyway, so create EC2 instance. And second thing, okay. So create a security group. Okay. Create a security group for EFS. Okay. Create a security group for EFS. Let's see what it exactly. Okay. Go back. So as I mentioned, security group will use network port and protocol. Okay. So network file system port and protocol. Okay. So network file system port and protocol 2049, I think. Go back. Let me just duplicate it. Click on instances. How many instances we have? 2 EC2 instances. Let me click on in server 1. Okay, server 1 is fine, and server 2. So server 10 is fine. Okay, let me go back and click on. So now I need to instance. I need to create a security group. Let me go to security group. Okay, I already created a security group. Okay, I already created a security group which is called EFSG. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new security group again. Let's see. Okay, so I will call this as batch for SFG security group EFS EFS security group. Okay, and this is going to be for this one. Go down. Inbound rules. So add rule. So what you need to add exactly here is, as I mentioned, you need to add the NFS. As I mentioned, it is going to listen on NFS. Who is going to access this, or EFS going to access which servers? That means EFS you need to attach to 2 servers, right? So this to access this EFS, or EFS has to access that EC2 servers. Okay, you need to give, or you need to provide that EC2 servers IP address, okay, or ACIDR block. Okay, so which servers is going to access this EFS? So this server, okay, and this server, first server and second server is going to access that EFS, right? So if I want to say, so first server want to access and second servers want to access, or let's say the EFS, who's to which EC2 server the EFS is connecting. The EFS is connecting with server 1 and server 2, right? Server 1 and server 2. So we need to provide security to the TFS that no other server, okay, no other server apart from this first server, second server, okay, no other servers like first server and server. So apart from this first server and second server, no other server can able to utilize the TFS. How we are going to maintain the security? Okay, how we are going to maintain the security? Using security group, right? So in the security group, I am going to add ENFS. Okay, click on it. See, it is listening on port number 2045 and custom. So I'm going to give the IP address of this first server. Okay, take this IP address. So only these 2 servers I want to access it out. So by 32. Okay, for sure you need to give 32. That's a mask. Okay, so let me add one more rule. Okay, NFS again, NFS. Okay, and I'm going to give the IP address of second IP. Okay, take this one. Okay, go back to here and give this one here. Okay, and take it out. Okay, so now I'm done with that. Let me create security group. Okay, click on that. So let me just check me whether we have given the correct one. Okay, this is the earlier one I have given. Okay, so same. That's the same. Okay, we don't require. Let me go back. Now we done with create a security group for EFS. This is the previous one what I created. Let me take a look on this one, the one which I created now. Let me go back. Okay, this is done. Okay, so now creation of security group is done, and now I need to create. Okay, create EFS. Okay, create EFS. Let me go back step by step. So first thing I want to mention one more thing. I missed to mention. So EFS is only for Linux servers. Okay, EFS is only for Linux servers. For Windows, we have FXX. Okay, for FXX. So file system which we are going to use, or a shared file system which we are going to use only for Linux servers is EFS, and for Windows we are going to use FSX. Okay, but most of the time in real time we are going to use Linux servers only. So that's why I'm explaining on EFS. Okay, let me go back and click on create file system. Okay, I'm going to give it as batch for EFS. Okay, and if I click on it and if I create, it is going to create, but I don't want that. Let me click on customize. Okay, let me click on customize. See, file system, choose either store data across multiple regions or single within availability zones. If you want to have it only for one availability zone also, okay. So if you want to have it only for one availability zone, like our EBS volume, okay, you can able to have it. Okay, click on one zone. Okay, you can able, if you want to deploy this only in one availability zone, that means you don't want high availability. Okay, that means you don't want high availability, because if you lose the data in one availability zone, you couldn't able to get it in another availability zone that you don't want. Okay, then you can go with one zone. If not, you want it for all available, like multiple availability zones. Let's say because of one region has been down, we can able to retrieve the data from another availability zone. Okay, that's the concept of availability zones, right? So why? Because we have availability zone is if we are going to miss the data, like 100% is not going to happen, but in case if you are going to lose the data from one availability zone, you can able to retrieve from another availability zone. That's why I'm going to give it as reason: offer the highest availability level of availability and durability by storing file system across multiple availability zones. That means you're creating this EFS and it is going to store in 3 availability zones. Okay, and come back the backup. So automatically it is going to take the backup using AWS backup. Okay, using AWS backup, it is going to take AWS backup is one more service in AWS. With the help of that, we can able to take the backup of this EFS, EBS. We can able to take EC2 instance also with backup we can able to take. So with the help of AWS backup. Okay, and in real time they will ask you this question. So how we are going to take the backup of your EC2 instance, EBS volume, EFS. Okay, so for EC2 instance and EBS, okay, you know how to take the backup. Okay, I have shown 3 methods. First is by creating a script, and second is using lifecycle manager. Okay, and the third thing is we have used lambda function. Okay, event bridge and lambda function. You tell that, but EFS tell them that we have used automatic backup using AWS backup. Okay, and lifecycle management. You seen that lifecycle management as part of. So where you see this lifecycle management, in which AWS service you have seen this lifecycle management? We already discussed about this lifecycle management, right? So where we discussed this lifecycle management? AWS service we discussed this lifecycle management.
EC2.
No.
EC2.
S3, right? So in S3 we have seen this lifecycle management, right? So let's say when we are keeping an object and it is not accessible for 30 days, like no one used this for last 30 days, then where it has to go? It has to go to infrequent access. And again, after 90 days, in 90 days or 180 days, if no one is using that, it has to go to archive, or there I mentioned it as glacier. Okay? Glacier, archive, or something I have mentioned. Okay. So if someone is accessed, okay, if someone accessed it within that 90 days or 80 days, someone access it again, it has to go to standard. Okay. Why we are keeping into this classes means to decrease the cost. Okay, to decrease the cost, we are like, see, every time if I'm going to keep that file in standard means it is going to incur a lot of cost. That means if you are going to keep the data in standard class, it is going to increase a lot of, it is going to have a lot of cost. So I don't, even if the files which is not accessible from many days, why I want to keep that in standard? So that's why I'm going to maintain in different storage classes. So where you want to keep that, it is asking. So if you are not accessing for the last 30 days, it will go to infrequent access. Okay, if it is not accessing for the 90 days, it goes for archive. If someone is going to access it out, okay, if someone is going to access out, it is going to be there as part of standard. So like someone is accessed in that particular time, then it comes to standard back. Okay, and encryption, 100% we are going to do in real time. What is this encryption? I already mentioned to you, encryption is nothing but the data which you are keeping and retrieving. Okay, that means the data you are keeping and you're retrieving it. So when the data is entering and when the data is retrieving, both data has to encrypt. That means no one can able to see the data from external world. Okay, that means, so in normal test, if you give, hi, this is Vijay, and the data will come into X, Y, Z, something like that. That means the data you are entering from outside, like this is Vijay. Using this encryption, okay, we can able to encrypt it. That means we can make it as X, Y, Z, something like that, some random value. That means no one can able to see our data. Using encryption, no one is going to see the data. So you see in WhatsApp, okay, in WhatsApp, you have this concept called encryption, end-to-end encryption. That means whether you are speaking, whether you are video, whatever it may be, everything it is going to store like, okay, it is going to store. I mean, when the process of going into store, it is going to store it as encrypted. I mean, the storage is going to encrypt. That means no one can able to listen to you, or no one can able to, until unless if you are recording it from external device. Okay, even WhatsApp don't have that capability of storing it. I mean, WhatsApp can able to store it out, but it can't able to store it out directly. So it is going to make that encrypted. Okay, so like let's say if some external officials, they required all your recordings and all, even this WhatsApp couldn't able to provide that. Yes, WhatsApp couldn't able to provide it out. It will show that, say, they have a call conversation has happened, but it will never show that what is that call conversation. Okay, even our network providers also, they are now using encryption only. That means, so no one can, in between, no one can able to, until unless it is authorized by some external officials. So you can't able to see the live call. Okay, so that is what encryption is. So that much of powerful is encryption. So we are going to encrypt all the data which is entering into the TFS, and we are going to retrieve, when we are trying to retrieve that, getting the data from that the EFS, we are going to encrypt that also. That means no one can able to see the data. That is what encryption is, nothing but. And throughput is like how your data you are going to get out. Okay, so we don't require all this stuff. Elastic. And see, using this method for workloads with unprecedented with elastic throughput, the performance automatically. See, for performance issues, if you don't need to get any performance issues, you just need to click on elastic recommended. So as AWS also, so it is recommendable. Okay, and the scaling performance mode general purpose is not required. Let me click on next. Okay, and this network access. So we don't want. Okay, I need to take VPC access. That's the thing. I took the correct one only. Now I don't want this one. Okay, I don't want this security groups. I need to, I mean, that this is for the target purpose. Okay, where we are going to attach our security groups. I don't want the default security which is going to give. Let me click on node endpoint. I'm going to take 1A. Okay, and the security group will be the one which I created, batch. I'm going to attach this security group, add mount point, and again I'm going to deploy, as I mentioned, that I'm going to deploy this EFS in multiple availability zones. Okay, and I'm going to take this security group. Okay, so batch security group. So, or you just need to want to give only IP address, you can able to give. But in real time, right? In real time. So if I go back, you should not enable access to all EC2 instance. You should enable access. You should enable access to that only to particular EC2 instance using this one. okay, using this IP address, or this IP address we have tagged file, we can able to attach this security group ID. Okay, so either with security group ID or with this IP address, okay, or this IP address we can able to, okay, we can able to. So that means this EC2 instance, this IP address EC2 instance, this EC2 instance IP address, sorry, this IP address of that security group which we attach to that EC2 instance also we can able to make it out here, or just give this, okay, or just give this IP address, that would be enough. Okay, then let me come back and click on next. Okay, this elastic file system, okay, file system policy, just I'm not going to explain you right away, okay, but I'm creating is, I will explain you what is this exactly. Okay, let me click on next. I'm creating, see, all it is going to give to review whether all you are going correctly or not. So okay, let me create it. So now I have this EC2 instance, and now I have this elastic file system also. Now I need to attach this file system to this two EC2 instance. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me click on this one. It is still creating. Let's wait for some time. And see, replication override protection. So that anyway, see what is replication? What is replication exactly? So replicate your file system to additional AWS region or same AWS region. So do you remember in S3 week we have this concept called replication? Why do we have replication? Replication is all about disaster recovery. Let's say someone deleted this entire file system. Okay, someone did done this deletion of this file system. How we are going to make it out? So in the same in the like how we done for AWS S3, in the same way also we are going to create a replication in another. I mean we are going to create a file system in another region. Okay, see here, in the same region, another region. Okay, so if I click on create replication, so replicate to a new file system. Okay, so destination I want to make it in US East 2. Okay, so you need to create a file system there. Okay, you need to create a, let's say in the same. Okay, I will make it as, I don't want, let's say I don't want it this one. Okay, encryption, and it is going to automatically going to create a new file system as part of another region, or you want to use it for an existing file system. Okay, in like in AWS region we are going to have a elastic, like you already created a file system. Okay, you already created a file system. If you want to replicate all this data to this file system to that file system, it will be happen. Okay, it will happen. Okay, so that means if you want to replicate to a new file system, that is this has to create a new file system and the data has to replicate, that will happen. Or if you want to replicate to the existing file system, that can also we can able to do it out. Okay, the same way how we done for S3. Okay, so in the time of disaster recovery, if you want to retrieve the data, that is very useful, replication. Okay, we come back and let's see whether it is available or not. Click on network. So it is available. Okay, now I need to attach it. Click on attach. Okay, you can take either this one to either one, or usually I will take this mount to point. Okay, I will take this mount via point. First I will take 1A. Okay, let me click on it. Go back to the EC2 instance. First 1A means where I deployed EC2 server 1, I deployed in availability zone 1. Okay, let me connect with that. Okay, let me connect with that and let me click on connect. Okay, the only thing here required is create or select a folder you want to utilize it for. Okay, you want to select a folder you want to utilize it for EFS, because elastic EFS is nothing but elastic file system or elastic folder, I mean a shared folder. Okay, so where you need to create a, like if you don't have any folder, if you want to create or create a folder, you can create a folder. Okay, so let me go back, let me print out. Now I'm here, I'm going to utilize this home folder. Under this home folder I'm going to keep Vijay, create a new folder called Vijay. Okay, using this I can able to store all the data. Okay, this elastic file system is nothing now, you don't have any data at all. Okay, now let me go back. go to root. Okay, clear it out. I'm just going to home. I'm going to create, let's see, ls. I don't have anything. Okay, now I'm going to create Vijay MKDA. I'm going to create this folder. Okay, now go back to here and take this one because we need to mount it, right? So do you remember how we have mounted how we have mounted in EBS volume? Okay, so we mounted to a particular, we mounted it to a particular folder, right? There also we created a folder and we mounted to that particular folder. In the same way, here also we need to create a folder and we need to mount it out. Or you have an existing folder, you can able to mount it directly. Okay, so let me go back and let me mount it out. Click on it. Okay, and just give it. It shows, no, it has, right? It has Vijay. Okay. So I need to give small v. Okay, now let's see df-th. You will get that. Okay, df-th and see an extra folder has been mounted here or not, right? An extra volume or extra EFS, and this EFS file system has been mounted using for this folder. The EFS has been mounted. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me navigate to Vijay, cd Vijay. Now let's see, in this Vijay I'm creating touch key and Mahesh. I'm creating T files. Okay, let me just. Now this file system has, that means this file system has three folders or three files, right? Let me go back. Let me go back to EC2 instance 2. Let me click on connect. Now I was into where? Now I was into EC2 server 2, right? So what I done was I created a file system and I attached that file system to EC2 instance. So now I need to attach the same file system into EC2 2 also. Okay, that EC2 instance 2 also. Let me go back. Where I deployed this EC2 instance 2, I deployed in 1B availability zone. Okay, let me take this one. Let me go back. I need to attach it to, okay, I need to, like, you can create whatever the folder name you want to. Okay, you can create whatever the folder name you want to mount it, right? You can able to attach to that folder name. There is no problem in attaching that folder name to multiple EC2 instances. I mean, the same folder name can be able to have in all EC2 instances, or you can have any folder name. But I want to make it very similar. So I'm going back to home and I'm going to give it as make directory Vijay. The same naming convention I want to give it out. Okay. Now let me give ls. So I already have it out. Let me paste it out. Just remove that EFS. I'm going to make it as home Vijay. Okay. Let's see. Now let me go to Vijay. Okay. See, do you see these three files available here? How it is available here? See, I created this. Okay, I created this Mahesh, Priya, and Venki in EC2 instance 1, right? How it is how it is there as part of EC2 instance 2? It is there as part of EC2 instance 2. So that's the concept of shared file system. That means, see, so what you've done here is, let me go back. You are writing files and you are creating files here. Okay, that means you are attaching, we are creating files in the sense you are storing the data in this EFS volume only. That means in this EFS file system only. See here, what we done was we created this EFS file system. Okay, to utilize this EFS file system, you need to attach this EFS file system to one place in that EC2 instance. Okay, that place I make it as home/Vijay. Okay, home/Vijay is the folder where I'm going to store all the data. Okay, where I'm going to utilize this EFS volume or EFS file system. Okay, you understood? See, we have this EFS file system. So it is, you can be able to store how much amount of data you are going to store that as part of EFS file system. Okay, but to utilize this file system, you need to attach this file system or you need to mount this file system in the EC2 instance. Okay, that means in one of the place of EC2 instance. So the place I selected is home. Okay, home/Vijay is the place where I selected it. That means you can store like whatever the amount of the data you want to store, you can able to store as part of this Vijay folder. In the same way, in the EC2 instance 2 also, I created the same folder. Okay, that EFS system I attach it to this EC2 instance. Okay, but before attaching the EC2 instance, what I done was I had all the data. Okay, I had all the data. Where I kept all the data? I kept all the data in this EFS mount only. Okay, so under the /home/Vijay, that means EFS mount. Okay, that means EFS mount. I mounted that particular folder. Okay, so in this EFS mount. So that EFS mount, that means that whatever the data I'm going to store as part of this, it comes into this EFS. Okay, when I attach this EFS to another EC2 instance, it is going to utilize that. It is going to utilize this data also. Okay, it is going to utilize that data also. Let me go back, and I am there in EC2 instance 2 now. Okay, I'm there in EC2 instance 2 now. I'm going to see, I have this one, right? I'm creating few more files. Okay, I'm going to create a Vijay.txt. I'm creating this file, right? Let me go back to the EC2 instance 1. Let me refresh it. See here, it comes Vijay.txt. That means what actually you are doing is, whether you write the data here in EC2 instance 1, whether you write the data in EC2 instance 2, it is going to be there in EFS mount only. Okay, you are going to be there in EFS mount only. It is going to be there as part of EFS mount only. So if I'm going to delete the data, let's see, I'm removing this. See, as part of EC2 instance 1, I'm deleting this Vijay.txt. It is going to delete as part of this one also. That means actually what is happening is, you are managing this EFS. Okay, you are managing this EFS from EC2 instance 1 and EC2 instance 2. Okay, so you are staying the line. So in real time, we never give access of deleting it out. Okay, we are not going to give until, I mean, only to the particular, like, let's say I want to give only for EC2 instance 1, but I don't want to give it for EC2 instance 2. I'm going to attach an EC2, I mean, I'm going to attach an IAM role which enable access to write to the EC2 instance or write to that EFS file. Okay, or let's say I'm going to give for this, I mean, let's say I have this EFS. Okay, I have this EFS and I want to give only read-only access to EC2 instance. Like I have this EFS instance, EFS file system. This EFS has a lot of data into it. Okay, this lot of data has to be utilized by all this EC2 instance. Okay, so there are a number of applications has been deployed as part of EC2 servers. Okay, so server 1 has application, server 2 has application. Okay, it has to utilize the same common data. That means like I have this common data as part of EFS system, and only this data has to utilize by this EC2 instance, but it should never write to this. Okay, it should never write to this EFS file system, or it should never write means it will never write means it is not going to keep any data. It is not going to delete any data. How we are going to maintain it out? Let me go back to EFS. Okay, let me remove this one. See, earlier I missed it to explain you the concept called file system policy. Okay, let me click on edit policy. See, prevent root access by default. See, let me explain you one more thing also. Let me go back to EC2-user. And now I am part of EC2 user. Earlier it is root. Now I am part of EC2 user. Let me do one thing. Let me create make directory /4. See here it shows permission denied. So what it means exactly is, in real time, okay, in real time, only to root we are going to enable access. For the very first time, I'm telling you guys, for the very first time, to use this file system, only root user can able to make it out. Okay, if EC2, if Vijay, one more user called Vijay, one more user called Venkatesh, all these users are part of this Linux. Okay, if I want to enable access to that only, if I want to enable access file system access to that users also, okay, using root. Okay, this root should enable access. That means root should enable access to the GC2 user, Vijay user, or Priya user, Venki, Mahesh user. So that root only can able to make it out. Okay, why? Because see, if everyone can able to have access, everyone can able to delete that file system. Okay, everyone can able to delete that file system. That means they can able to delete the data in file system. That should not happen. Okay, that it should not happen. Only that root user should have access to EFS. Okay, and see, even in root, okay, even the root also, if I want to prevent this root to write and delete the data. Okay, now I'm writing and I'm deleting the data. What I mean to say is, see, if I'm deleting rm -rf Venki. Okay, I'm deleting the data. If I want to create the data, touch again, touch Venki. I'm creating this. I'm creating this one, right? So that means it can able to delete. I mean, root user can able to delete and can able to write the data into EFS file system. But I don't want that. Okay, see, prevent root access by default. Let me save it out. Okay, let me go back. I'm going to use the same touch Venki. Okay. Go back. Touch. I'm just going to give touch Vijay.txt. See, it shows permission denied. That means it don't have that permission. Okay, it don't have permission to. Okay, shows like permission is denied. Let me remove this one. So edit it out. Okay, not edited. Let me delete this file policy itself. Then you are going to get access. Okay, they will ask you in real time in interview. When you go to an interview, they will ask you this. Let me go back. I need to log. Okay, I need to log in and log in back. Refresh it. Usually directly it is going to get, but I am not sure why. Sudo -i. Okay, I have part of root itself. Okay. Now let me go back to. Okay, I'm creating touch batch 4. There it is creating it. Okay, I need to refresh it. Okay, so that is what. If you want to remove it out using that policy, the file system policy. Why the file system policy is required? So to enable who can able to access. Okay, enable who can able to access. Okay, who can able to access our file system. Okay, so usually by default, all like whatever the EC2 instance you are going to attach the TFS, that EC2 instance root user has access to it. If you want to prevent that root users accessing your file system, that means reading. I mean, reading, anyone can able to read it out. Okay, so enforce read access by default. That means anyone can able to read it out. If you want to prevent root access, that means root access means read, write. Okay, read, write, execute. Okay, so that permissions you don't want. Okay, so using this file system policy, we can able to make it out. Okay, prevent anonymous. No one from outside can able to access it out. We can able to prevent it out. Or let's say one more option. See, I have this EC2 instance one. I have EC2 instance. I have 100 EC2 instances. Okay, but I required one EC2 instance only to write the data into that. Okay, to write the data into EFS. Okay, that EFS I have attached to. Okay, this EFS I attached to multiple EC2 instance. Okay, this EFS attached to multiple EC2. These are all real-time questions, guys. Okay, they will ask you. So I have attached this EC2 instance to multiple. Sorry, this EFS to multiple EC2 instance. But I don't want this second. Okay, I don't want this second. I don't want this third. Okay, I don't want this fourth to write to this EFS mount again back. Okay, that means it should not write, it should not delete anything, any data under this. I mean, this 3 EC2 instance should not write or should not delete anything under this EFS mount. But this EC2 instance only can able to write and delete the read the data into that EFS mount. How we can able to make it out? Okay, that means create an IAM role. Okay, create an IAM role, attach that IAM role to the EC2 instance. Okay, Once you attach that IAM role to EC2 instance, come back to here, grant additional permissions, click on add. Okay, give the principal ARN. ARN means ARN of an IAM role. Okay, ARN of an IAM role. Okay, give IAM role, and what access you require, read, write, root access, click on it. Okay, or you require only read, write access, you click on it. You require only read access, click on it. Okay, so that means using an IAM roles also, you know what is an IAM role, right? So using that IAM role also, you can able to restrict the access to that EFS mount. Okay, in real time, they will ask you this question: how, let's say I have multiple EC2 servers. Okay, and multiple EC2 servers that has mount to EFS. Okay, that the EFS mount has been attached to this multiple EC2. To restrict all the servers to get read, I mean, restrict all the servers to get only read access. It should not write or should not delete anything. Okay, but only EC2 instance one has to do that. How we can able to make it out? You simply tell that, see, in AWS, in EFS, I have a concept called network policy. Under network policy, okay, I'm going to create, under network policy, I'm going to give the details about, for the very first time, what you need to do is, you need to create an IAM role. You need to attach that IAM role to that EC2 instance, which enables EFS access. Okay, and what you need to do is, you need to come back to AWS EFS, okay, and click on network access policy, and attach that network, I mean, in that network access policy, go to grant additional permissions and give that IAM role details here. What access they require? It requires read access, read write access, and all this. We are going to give it out as part of it. Okay, then we can able to add it out. So once I do that, it is going to get access, and just click on save it out, and you can able to make that access. Okay, so that is what about this EFS. Any questions on EFS now? I explained you on file system. I explained you on replication. These are not required. Access point, these are not required. Click on it. So you don't require all these things. Just ignore it. Okay, you got this EFS. What is the EFS? What you understood, like what is the main concept of EFS? Let's say now I have an external data here. Okay, where it is going to utilize by, multiple EC2 instances. Okay, consider this EFS as a shared folder. This folder can able to utilize by multiple EC2 instances. Okay, any questions you want me to ask? You want to ask me? Any questions, guys?
No, Vijay, from my side.
Venkatesh. Priya. Okay, then. So go through this recording. Okay, I want to provide the notes. I'm missing it, but anyway, I will provide all those. Okay.